Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome everyone once again for this multi-series of journey of self-discovery. It's a journey, so there's multiple stops on this journey. So we're going to try to do it over 5 weeks, And if you all have still a lot of enthusiasm to keep going, we can continue a few other topics for a few more weeks. So just a few little norms before we begin. I would really like everyone to come on time. Today's the first time, so I started a few minutes late. But from next time, I would like to start sharp at 6. Even if there's only 2 people, I'll start sharp at 6 because I want to honor the time of those who came on time. And we'll also try to end on time. And the other is I would like everyone to participate. I will try to engage you in that participation, so please come forward and participate because it's nice when we have some interaction. Listening to just a lecture, I don't want to just sit and lecture you over here. It's a bit boring sometimes. And you will be very alert and active when you participate. I want you all to think actively. I don't want to just feed the information totally. I want to make sure that you're capturing everything and you're with me at all times. The other is if you have some questions as we are going along, I would very much request that you write down your questions and save them for the end of the class because quite probably some of your questions may get answered just by the end of the lecture. And if you still have some of these questions, we can take them at the end of the class. It may happen that we may not be able to answer every single question right here in the class time because these topics are huge and I'm sure you have many questions. But if you have additional questions, we can talk over prasadam. There will be dinner prasadam after this, so we'll go from 6 to 7:30. We may spill over a few minutes today. We'll try to finish by 7:30, and then we'll have prasadam, and if there's additional questions, we can talk over prasadam. Another thing I would really like to do is go through some introduction of each of you to get to know all of you. But if I do that, we'll lose another 15 minutes. But I'm hoping I can get to know all of you through prasadam. So I'm sure I'll learn everyone's names, over the next 5 weeks, but hopefully this week itself during prasadam, and hopefully I can remember them. So this journey of self-discovery, it's originally, this course was designed by many devotees together at Chaupati Temple in Mumbai. There were a number of brahmacharis who came together and they wanted to make something very easily accessible for brand new people who are just walking in and who want to pursue spiritual life. Because when we come to the temple, we hear the Sunday feast classes and everything, but we don't always go in a systematic manner because, there's a mixture of audience there. But these classes will serve actually as foundational principles. And they're very foundational because sometimes people pursue spiritual life without understanding these foundations. And as they go along, they find that they get shaky. And that's what happens when our foundation is not strong. So this will really serve as a solid foundation for you to build on after this. So I said it's also a journey. There's many stops. So these are some of the stops we're going to be making. Yeah. So today's topic will be search for happiness or roadblocks to happiness. The next topic will be does God exist? Most of you are from India, and I know you already believe that there is God. But we want to understand much more deeply, who is this God? Why do we have faith in him? What is his duties, or, what kind of person is he, etc. Yeah? So we want to gain a more solid foundation. And then we'll discuss in detail who qualifies for this post of God. Having described, who God should be, who qualifies for this post of God. And then we're going to discuss this very important question also, who am I? Yes, we all probably already know a little bit that we are the souls, but actually we'll go deeper into this understanding. And another question that everybody likes, something that plagues us, something that every religion has tried to answer. Everyone has their own theory. but we're going to try to answer this based on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Why do bad things happen to good people? And finally, we're going to discuss practical spirituality. Is this, all these teachings, can we actually apply them in the current day and age or not? So we'll get on with our first topic for today. And I want to start with a little story, short story. So there was a king and a sage. And the king asked the sage, how do we get happiness? Can you just define what happiness is? How can we understand what happiness really is? And the sage says, well, happiness is like a butterfly. And the king is really, really perplexed by this cryptic answer that the sage gives. Oh, really, butterfly? Can you explain more, please? And the sage just says, well, everything will be revealed to you in the course of time. So just stay with it, stay with this thought, and everything will be revealed to you. So one fine day, the king goes and sits in his royal garden, and he's just enjoying the nature. And suddenly his eyes fall on a butterfly. And he goes and he tries to catch the butterfly. And as he tries to go and catch the butterfly flies away. And then it goes, sits on another leaf, and he again tries to catch it, and it flies away. And then he keeps trying to do that. And, he gives up. He gets frustrated after some time. He tries for like half an hour to catch this butterfly, but it's not happening. So then finally he just sits back down, and he closes his eyes, and he's thinking, okay, the sage said happiness is like a butterfly. How to understand this? And then as he's thinking like this, he feels a slight itch on his hand. And then he opens his eyes, and there he sees the butterfly sitting on his arm. And then just clicks, his light bulb goes on, and he thinks that, oh yeah, happiness is exactly like this. As long as we are chasing after it, it always seems to elude us. Isn't that our experience? Now we keep thinking that something is going to give us happiness, and we keep chasing. Then it's this close. And then, unlike the butterfly, we may even get that particular object in our hands. And yet, the happiness seems to disappear in thin air, or it comes for a moment, or a few moments, or a few weeks sometimes, or a few days sometimes, a few months sometimes, but then it just goes away. And then we're pursuing another object, right? So, having said that, now I want to ask you all one question. Okay, so most of you are working class of people. So when we think of our society, how many classes of income groups are there normally? It's not a complicated question. It's a very simple question, but I want to make a point. How many classes of income groups are there? Or what do we normally talk about? Yes, you can just... 3? Okay. What are they? Okay. I might say there's even more. Would anyone else say there's more than that? Huh? Very poor. Very rich. And I could say lower middle class, middle class, higher middle class, right? And we can keep categorizing them. So there's, several classes, and we can break down and break down and break down. Another just simple question. Suppose, I'm sure all of you have visited a hospital at some point. So if someone were to get admitted in a hospital, how many categories of rooms are there? Okay, normal rooms, there's emergency room, and the patient is really dying, he may be placed in an emergency room. And then the normal rooms and departments. So I'm talking specifically for the patient who's getting admitted. Okay, fine. And also, again, thinking in terms of admission, I'm also thinking of a single bedroom or general ward where there's many rooms, right? Or there's shared, 2 people, right? So there's VIP rooms, like that. There's another in the same category of person. There's, we have all these social media. There's many categories of them, isn't it, nowadays, right? You see the pictures here. So the question I have for you is, as soon as there's more than one in a category, right, then what can we conclude? We have to make a choice, okay? Any other thoughts? As soon as we say there's more than one category, what can we conclude? Huh? They're not equal. Very good point. Very good point. Anything else? They're not equal. We have to make a choice between them. Anything else that comes to you? Okay. Okay, so there's choices. It's not just one. Okay. Huh? Where do we fit in? Okay. So categories also seem to be based on some parameters. So in this case, the income group, it's obvious. What are these categories based on? Based on how much you earn. And perhaps it's linked to how hard you can work, how intelligent you are, right? What are your skills and so on. So based on that, you can categorize things. Or the hospital beds too. Okay, depending on the severity of the disease, or depending on your capacity to pay, how thick is your wallet, basically. Or the different communication, same principle, which one we seem to connect with and so on. So while there is these differences, also categories means that there is something in common, right? There is something in common. Okay, these are all mediums for communication. Okay, these are all hospital rooms. These are all based on some income, right? And there is something different. So here's another example. There's fruits. They're both fruits, but they're different. There's differences. One is sweet and one is sour. So the next question I have for you then is, how many categories of living beings are there? You can tell me. Huh? Millions. Somebody has a more accurate number than that? You're very correct. There's millions. Somebody has a number for me? 8.4 million species of living entities. And can you all tell me some categories now? Categories of living entities, yeah? Humans first, okay. Very good. Animals, okay. Birds, reptiles, very good. Fish. Okay, that's another way of looking at it, depending on what they eat. Herbivorous or carnivorous, very good. Trees. Okay, some stones also are living entities, like mountains grow, right? What else? And somebody said fish, so we can maybe categorize all aquatics into one group. Very good, very good. Someone else had something? Insects, yes, very good. So you covered pretty much the whole range of the living entities here, right? Going from the aquatics, reptiles, and different animals, and then there's this human being. So would it be okay for us to broadly categorize them as just humans and animals? We can put all these other living entities into one broad category of animals. Would that be all right? Yes? It seems like, except the trees and stones, maybe. Yes, yes, definitely. So we're just going to, because trees and stones, maybe their level of consciousness is very small, it's very contracted. So we're going to look now at the little bit more evolved living entities. Okay. So now there's two broad categories: the the human beings, and then there is the animals. So, as we said, with any categories, there is something in common, and then there's something different. So my question for you now is, what is common between this cute-looking dog? This owner of this dog really loves this dog, you can see. But what's the difference? What's common? We'll do common first. Love, okay. Would somebody like to write down for me over here what's common? Yes, please. Yes, love, all right. Kindness, okay. Loyalty, okay, just 1 second. I want to make sure that captures love, loyalty, kindness, okay. Giving, okay. What about some of the activities that they do? Is there something common? Huh. Walk, run, okay. Move, eat, sleep, okay, very good. Companionship, okay. Anything else? Eat, sleep. Okay. All senses, okay, the sense activities. Okay. Okay. Very good. Sense of protection, so maybe like defense. Yeah, can we call it defense? And animals have babies, right? And humans also have babies. So that's also something in common. So very good. Very good. So you covered a lot of ground there, and congratulations, because you covered everything that our scripture also says. What is common between animals and human beings? So this is a verse from Mahabharata. It says, Ahara nidra bhaya maitunam cha samanya metat pashavir samanam. Naranam. So ahara, as you know, is eating. But ahara also means what we take in through other senses in a broader sense. So it covers what you said. So what we are taking in through all the different senses, that includes the working senses, and we categorize them as working senses, knowledge acquiring senses. So it covers all the senses. Then we have nidra, that is sleeping. Then there is bhaya, which is defense, and that is when, the element of protection, as you said, comes in. And there's maitunam. Maitunam is the whole act of mating or having children and, or basically enjoying at a sensual level. That's what maitunam means. And then it says samanyam. Samanya means common. Eta pashu. Pashu means animal, and nara means human beings. So this is what is common between these two broad categories. So now that is common. So let me just look at the next slide. So sleeping, eating, enjoyment, or mating, and defending. Okay? So now I just want to go a little further and just go through these 4 categories. There's an acronym for you to easily remember. SEED. Okay? Sleeping, eating, enjoyment, and defending. So the animals are eating. How are we common? The animals are eating, mostly they eat raw food, and they eat anywhere. And they also eat based on, they don't overeat, unlike human beings. That's one difference already. Yeah? When you throw like a pile of rice on the ground somewhere on the road, the pigeons just come and take what they want. They don't get a gunny bag and, just collect all the, rice there, but humans do that. So the humans are also eating, but apart from the difference of hoarding sometimes, the other differences is that maybe we're eating in very polished ways. We have a range of food stuff. We have so many cuisines. We eat at home, we eat in restaurants, we go to gourmet restaurants, but sometimes our eating habits can really become degraded too. That I was hearing one time that somebody, anyway, it's just like sick to even mention it sometimes, but drinking monkey blood, I heard that, yuck, or roasted snakes. And people do this, roasted snakes or something. So anyway, but both are eating. The experience of eating remains the same, although we may do it in different ways. We may do it in more polished ways, but the experience of eating remains the same. It gives some taste to the tongue, and it fills our belly, and it nourishes our body, right? And then sleeping. So the animals can sleep anywhere, including on this nice branch over here. They can sleep in the middle of the road. They can sleep anywhere. And the humans, they have nice plush apartments and beds, and they're all designed to get sound sleep. And we have so much advancement in sleep technology now. It's a whole technology now. There's some people just can't fall asleep because there's so much anxiety. So there's sleep-enhancing medicines and drugs and all kinds. There's like water beds, there's memory foam beds, there's, just varieties of things, all just to sleep. And then some people, they sleep and they can't wake up. So animals don't need an alarm clock, they just wake up. We have fancy alarm clocks. One of the most fancy ones I heard of, I'll share two of these fancy alarm clocks that I heard of. There is a chicken-shaped alarm clock, which when it's time to wake up, it not only makes a sound, but it drops eggs all over. And the person has to get up out of the bed and pick up all the eggs and put them back, otherwise the alarm clock will not stop. So the whole point is that by the time they pick up all the eggs, they will wake up, hopefully. They won't snooze and go back. Another one I heard about is basically it's just complicated German technology, actually, this is. It's like people want to wake up very naturally and so on. So, there's the whole simulation of sunrise. So you can wake up just like sunrise and the birds chirping and the nice morning bloom of the flowers, the fragrance of these flowers. And then if you don't wake up after that, it has a mechanism by which it will shoot water into your eyes. And if you still don't wake up after that, it has an eject system. And it'll just eject you out of the bed. So much for our sleeping. But ultimately, once you fall asleep, what is the experience of sleep? It's the same. Whether the animal is sleeping on the road or the branch, and our sleep, the quality ultimately is the same, although we think that we're going to get much better sleep and so on. And then there is, animals have babies. Here's a lion and a lioness trying to make out. And animals do it anywhere. And humans do it in more sophisticated manners. I'm not going to talk too much about this. And then there is the defending, as we said. So animals may just use their jaws or claws or something like that, whereas humans, we have very complicated defense measures. I was looking up to see how much of our U.S. federal budget goes into defense. It's 54%. 54% of our federal budget actually goes into just defense measures. And something like $523 billion. I had to write that down. I was going to forget the number. $523 billion just for this. And of course, we all have other kinds of defense measure. We have like special locks and metal detectors and bank insurances and life insurances. All these are a form of defense, really. We have security men, there's buzzer alarms, and so many ways of defending. So it seems like we have a lot in common, just that we do it in sophisticated ways. So now, we also said there's categories, there's something in common, and then there's something different. So what is it that differentiates us from animal species? Who can tell me? It would be really nice, I forgot to mention this norm. Raise your hand so that, because I have 2 ears and they hear at once, I don't have the capacity to hear 1 ear at a time. Yes. Logical discrimination, very good. Yes. Intellect, we have intelligence. Speech, raise your hand and wait for me to call on you. Yes. They can talk. Well, what makes you think animals cannot talk? They have their own language. They communicate. We can't understand, but they can understand. They can understand, so they do have a form of communication. Maybe our form of communication is more sophisticated, but even they have sophisticated ways of communication that we may not understand. What else? Thinking. Do you feel that animals cannot think? Yes? Yeah, discipline. Okay, that's good. I want to go back to this. Do you feel that animals cannot think? Some of them can think. We think at a higher level. Yeah, animals can think. Suppose you were to give some food to a dog today. Do you think it'll come back tomorrow? It likely will. It's thinking I'm going to get food, so it'll come back. And if, the dog comes and you beat up the dog next day, is it going to come back? It's not going to come back. So it can think. So then what is really the difference in our thinking? What do you think? We analyze, yes, in the sense of making choices. Well, the animal was making choice too. Yes. Memory, okay. They have more instincts and we have memory. They have memory too, though. Different memory, okay. Yes. We can differentiate between right and wrong. So it's getting very close to what I'm looking at now. Very good. We can meditate. Maybe there's an example in the Bhagavad Gita how a fish lays eggs and it meditates on the eggs and then the eggs actually become little fish. So the animals also meditate. Their meditation may be different, but they also meditate. So one joke or an example. There was once a farmer and he had an oil extracting machine. And the way he used to work this machine is that a bull was tied to this, and the bull used to go round and round and round. And so the oil would keep coming out. So then one fine day, one logician came, and he asked the farmer, how do you know that, the bull keeps walking, and it's not just sitting down and lazing? How do you know? How can you make sure that it's working? So the farmer says, well, I tie a bell around the neck of the bull, and as long as the bell is ringing, I can know that it's going around. And the logician says, well, how can you tell it's going around? And the bull can also do this and ring the bell, right? And the farmer says, well, the bull is not a logician like you. So this is one difference. Animals don't think in these manners. They don't have this rational kind of, somebody said, logical, this kind of thinking. Like we, for example, if we don't want to go to work someday and it's not planned and we just want to go for a vacation and the boss didn't approve the vacation, we come up with, our sister may fall sick 4 times in a year. Sometimes the mother-in-law dies 3 times in 5 years. Or, something else like that. We come up with these kind of reasoning where the animals just don't do that kind of reasoning. Or suppose, there's a fancy restaurant, like a nice Pizza Hut of some kind, better than Pizza Hut. What's a better than Pizza Hut place? I don't go to restaurants really much, so I can't. I don't know all the names of restaurants, yeah. Okay, whatever it is. So let's say there's a long line of different animals. There's dogs and cats and goats, and they're all going to be served very nice pizza, top class Italian, imported mozzarella cheese and olives and everything, and they're all going to be served very top class pizza, and they're in a line. And the owner takes the first dog inside, and he has a seat, and this nice pizza comes out, and then he also gets some really nice ice cream. What's the best ice cream around? What is it? I don't know. In India, it used to be Baskin Robbins, but even that has changed now. When I was growing up, it was Baskin Robbins. But anyway, so very nice ice cream. But after some time, the owner starts beating up the dog like anything. And the other dogs and cats and goats in the line, do you think they learn from this? They will still go in because they just don't have this kind of thinking. But if a human being were to be in the line, he's not going to go in. If he sees that a human is going through this, the human being is not going to go on the side. So this is basically the difference, that we have this higher kind of thinking, and that's what differentiates us from eating, the animal functions of eating, sleeping, mating, defending. The animals also think, but their thinking is limited to these activities. It's always about how can I do one of these things. You watch Discovery Channel or something, if you analyze the activities of animals, it will always fall in these 4 categories. It's not going to do something else. Even right now in this room, there's insects and there's birds outside and stuff. You're not going to find a bird or something come and listen to a class or something and think about it. So this is the difference between. So we have higher intelligence, and there's discrimination. And we have some capacity to inquire based on, what is happening, right? So we have the spirit of inquiry. But what should our inquiry be into, really? What should we inquire into? Should we also inquire into eating, sleeping, mating, defending? Should we just inquire about what scandal is going on out there, or what car somebody bought, or, how much money you make, and, is this inquiry sufficient? Or should there be some higher inquiry of some kind? What do you think? Yes. Okay, you're very advanced. Yes. Yes. So I want to ask now, what are people running after in society today? Money. Okay, that's top. Money. What else are people running after? Position. Okay. Status, you said? Yeah, status. Yes. What else? Material things. So acquiring just some stuff. Acquiring more and more stuff. Okay, what else? Happiness. So, okay, that definitely true. And knowledge. Okay. Peace. Okay, some people look for peace, and that's nice. Yes. Huh? Salvation. Okay, you all are graduates already. So, but I'm saying people in general, they're looking for some bigger and bigger jobs and family and friends, and, they are engaged in some sports or shopping or power of some kind. And somebody said this already. She said about happiness. But if you analyze each of the things that people are looking for, what do they hope to get? Let's say somebody said money. But with money, what do we really hope to get after that? Happiness. Yeah, so with money you can buy stuff, and then, there's a hope for happiness. Yes. And with everything else too, it is always this hope for happiness, right? And we said that everyone is looking for it. I think all of us are also looking for it. That's why you're here today. But are we getting it? How many of you are completely satisfied? Anybody? No. Okay. So everyone wants it, and yet we're not getting it. Right? There was once a king. He had many prisoners captive. And he said that I will release all of you if you can give me some formula by which I can become happy when I'm sad, and when I'm happy, I can become sad. So one of the prisoners came up and gave him a ring. And the king said, well, how is this ring going to make me happy? So the prisoner said, well, look at what is written on the ring. So the ring says it'll pass. So when you're situated in happiness, you look at the ring and it says, well, it'll pass. And so that means sadness will come. It's around the corner. And when you're sad, it will also pass. And then maybe some happiness will come. Like that. So we find that that's our experience also in this world, that it seems to come and go away like that. So the next question I have for you is, what are the factors that prevent us from achieving happiness? So we're looking for happiness. What are some things that are really preventing us? Yes. Okay, attachment to the object. So if you're attached to something, how does that become a roadblock, actually, if you're attached to something? Aha, very good. Okay, so you may not get the things that you're attached to. So that way it makes you unhappy. Yes, what else? Fear and anxiety that you may lose what you have? Okay, so that makes us unhappy. What else? Uh-huh. So greed. So are you trying to say greed? Or yeah. So even we want to get more and more, and so it always feels like we don't have enough. Okay, similar to what he's saying. You said something? Desires. We have so many desires, and they're not getting fulfilled. What else? Expectations, because so we can't control. We have expectations from people to perform in a certain way and interact with us in a certain way, and they don't. They're not in our control, right? What else? Yes. Stress, and that's a problem, right? Yeah. So, yes. Okay. Okay. You have a lot of realization about attachment, I can tell. That's very nice. That's very nice. Contentment. Okay. Disappointment. Disappointment when we don't get what we want. Sorry? Anger. That's a problem, yes. So these are all very good answers. And these can all form roadblocks to happiness. So we're looking for happiness, but there's this huge block. So the biggest roadblock actually that we have to happiness is problems in our life. That is what causes us to remain unhappy. Even if we have something, there is always problems in our life. So just for example, how many of you attended the session by Gaur Gopal Prabhu when he was here? A few of you. Who remembers one example he gave in this regard? Remember? Yes? Yeah. Yeah. He had some nice samosas. Nice hot samosas he had, but just then he got his exam results and he blooped. So all the happiness, he couldn't enjoy his samosas anymore, right? It happens all, yes? Yes, yes, she said that. Yeah, so he just got this Lamborghini. I mean, how many people in this world have a Lamborghini? Very few. But then the same day, he got news that his wife filed for divorce. And all the happiness that he was trying to get from the Lamborghini just escaped, just like that. Some people, they save and save and save and finally buy this dream house. And then 1 week later, they lose their job and they just can't enjoy the house anymore. I remember this happened to Vamsi Dari Prabhu. He bought a house. The very day he was having the housewarming program, he was laid off or something. The project ended. It was like, oh my God, how am I going to pay this mortgage now? Especially in this country because we always have mortgage. We don't just buy houses with real money. So the biggest roadblock to happiness is actually problems. Even you have something, you cannot appreciate that something because of these problems. And these are of varied, varied kinds. And also, like when people ask us, how you doing? How do we often respond? No problem. It's almost like, when there's no problems, I'm happy. No problems, I'm good, So, so really, so we said earlier that the difference between the human beings and animals is that there's discrimination and they have this capacity to inquire. So we all want happiness and we all do not want suffering. Nobody gives an ad in the newspaper saying suffering wanted, right? Nobody wants suffering. And yet it's happening. So what should really be our inquiry about? It should be about these deeper questions about what is the cause of suffering, right? And what is the goal of life? Who am I really? And where did I come from? After understanding who am I, but where did I come from? And where am I going to go after this life, right? And this is also something, the same verse we quoted earlier, Ahara Nidra Bhayamaitinam Cha, Samanyam Etat Pashubir Naranam. The next two lines of that verse that is quoted in the Mahabharata is Dharmo hitesham adiko vishesho dharmena hina pashubir samaya. So the distinction of a human being really, Vishesha means what's special about a human being, is that he is supposed to practice dharma. Adhika means in addition. So those things are common, eating, mating, sleeping, defending. But in addition, what is special is this dharma. And if you don't have dharma, dharmena hina. Hina means, if you don't inquire into dharma, then pashabhi samana, again, we are like animals. So humans basically have this one specific feature, which is very unique. It's intelligence to inquire into the absolute truth, not just the relative truth. And animals just are always inquiring about something on a completely relative platform. And this is also, in fact, one of the first the Vedic aphorism from the Vedanta Sutra, Athato Brahma Jignasa, meaning that therefore now inquire into the absolute. And what is that now? The now is when we get this human form of life. So now that you have this human form of life, please inquire into this absolute truth. And this is really what marks the difference between a human being and animal according to Scripture. I'm not saying it, but according to Scripture. So the higher intelligence, the discrimination should be, and the inquiry, the intelligence should be used into inquire about the cause of suffering and the source and destination of life, which is basically the inquiry into absolute truth. So now I have another question for you. We're going to try to understand more about the problems. What are some problems we go through in life? This should be a very easy list to give. What are some problems we go through in life? Can you just list them vertically so it's easy to read? Yeah, what are some problems? Yes, quickly. Financial, health, okay. Emotional problems, family problems, ego problems. Yeah, that's a huge one, right? What else? Job problems, okay? Family, somebody said that, yes. Relationship problems, yes. School problems, homework problems. Oh, this teacher, gives so much homework. And we have problems even when we are little children, What other problems? Yes. Weather problems, okay? Think a little bit. Pollution and weather, okay? Problems caused by the mind. Did somebody said health, right? Already? Yeah. Problems caused by the mind. What else? Yes. Thinking too much about future, and that's a problem because you can't be in the present. Okay. Thinking about the past. That also happens. In fact, these are the features. Later when we discuss the modes of nature, we'll understand that thinking about the future always and not being in the present is being in the mode of passion or rajaguna. And thinking about the past and dwelling on the past and lamenting and brooding, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, it's a feature of ignorance, influence of ignorance on us. But being in the present is actually the mode of goodness. Very good. What else? Any other varieties of problems? That's all the problems you have in your life. Comparison, okay? Yeah, comparison, yeah. Are you capturing everything? Yes, very good. Contentment, not having contentment. Discontent, okay. Addiction, okay, very good. Social problems, okay, very good. Huh? Power struggles. Yes, especially between husband and wife sometimes, right? We have power struggles. Okay, so now we're going to categorize them into some categories here. Can we categorize them into problems of mind and body? You're leaving? Oh, you need to go. Okay. Okay, sure. Okay. Problems based on body and mind, problems based on natural disturbances, and problems caused by others. Can we quickly categorize? So you can just write maybe body, mind as BM in the bracket, and others as O, and natural disturbances as N. Let's see. Can you categorize these quickly? Here. Weather is natural disturbance, okay? It would be nice if you can come this way and write, because only you can see what you're writing. No one else can. Okay. Mind and maybe body, like we need money for maintaining our body maybe. Okay. Job is also body. Okay. Mental. Okay. It could also be others, right? Sometimes. Could it be? Yeah, others. problems is what? By others. The teachers harassing us with homework. Okay. That's the cause of school problems. Okay. Mind. Okay. Past, thinking about future is mind. Okay. Body. Okay. Or mind. Okay. Very good. So, power struggle is others or it's us? It's our own mind. Okay. Very good. Fantastic. So while all these problems are there, are these problems for everyone? Is it a real problem? That is something we want to understand. No, it's not. You're nodding your head. Give me an example. Finance. Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. So some person has a 20,000 square foot house and they're still not happy. They have a lot of money and they're not happy. And someone else is happy in a little hut. Okay? So it's not really a real problem. Right? Okay, what else? Give me some other. So, health. Health is a real problem because. Uh-huh. And that's a problem for everyone, right? Everybody goes through health issues. It's a problem, it's common to all. Okay. What else? I mean, some of these things, for example, the weather problems, or even for that matter, sometimes health problems, right? Let's say weather problems. It's pouring like anything. I remember when we first moved to Aurora the first year, there was this huge hailstorm. I'm sure all of you remember that. And, our roof had holes in it, basically. The insurance companies loved it, right? Or especially the contractors loved it even more than the insurance companies. Maybe it was a little bit of a problem for the insurance companies because they had to pay for all that. And then after they pay for it, then, they jack up our prices, the monthly price that we pay for the insurance. So you can see that what is a problem for one person may not be a problem for another person. So in that sense, some of these problems that we defined, they may not fit into the category of what is a real problem. Right? So real problem means that it has to be common to all, and no one must want it, and yet no one can avoid it. So now with this definition, now you tell me what fits into this category of problems. Okay, one at a time. Let's. Ignorance. Okay. All right. Okay. Health. Okay, so disease. Disease is one thing, yes. Poverty? Well, not necessarily. Poverty is a relative problem because, one person, even if they're poor, they're quite happy. Weather? Calamities can come under a real problem. Very good, yeah. Death, yes. Ah, she stole your idea. You find another one. You find a real problem. So, death is a problem, right? Do you want death? Avoid it, and it's common to all. Are some of us going to be like eternal here? No, everyone has to face death. Old age. All right, old age. It's common to all. Nobody wants it, right? Every old man, I don't see many old people here, but maybe somebody a little bit in the 50s, maybe 50s, early 60s perhaps. But, they have problems. And it's common to all. They wish that, they see these little children running around and they wish, once upon a time I used to run like this. Or there's this beautiful teenager who walks in with this beautiful, nice, thick hair, and she goes like that. And the bald head person is thinking, oh, once upon a time, I used to have hair like that. Now I can't even comb, right? So the real problems of life. So most of you said majority of these. I have here birth too. Birth is a problem. We're going to discuss how birth is a problem. So there's birth, old age, disease, and death. These, yeah. Others' behavior. Sure. We don't dictate how people react, but I would categorize that somewhat as a relative problem in one sense, because how we react to how others react very much depends on us. And some people, react to everything. Even the other person says something very kindly. Have you ever had an experience where you go out of your way to do something for someone and that person takes it in a completely opposite way and reacts to it, right? So it's like a relative problem in one sense. But these are real problems that no one can avoid. So death, nobody welcomes death. Everyone is afraid of death, right? And death is something that it doesn't spare anyone. No matter how much money you have, you cannot bribe death. You can't say, can you please spare me? Even if you're a doctor, you're the best doctor in town, and you still can't just, cure or, send away death at all. So nobody can, and death doesn't distinguish sometimes even between young, old, tall, rich, poor, short, whatever, beautiful, ugly. It strikes one and all. And when it comes, also you cannot dictate it, right? So it is said, this is a real problem also because death is extremely painful. It is said in our scriptures that at the time of death, the pain that one experiences is equal to the bite or the sting of 42,000 scorpions together. That is the extent of pain one feels at the time of death. And you may say, well, does something bite us at that time? Or is it a physical pain? It's not exactly a physical pain, but it's a mental pain. Just like, for example, I'll read a little story. There was a miser, okay? And once his 25-cent coin fell into a river as he was just rowing a boat. And he jumps into the river. And, after he jumps in, he realizes he doesn't know how to swim. And then he says, help, help, help. And so somebody extends his hand and he says, give me your hand, give me your hand. And this person continues to scream, help, help, help. He says, I'm saying, give your hand, I'm here. And he doesn't give his hand. And then somebody is passing by and watching this, and he says, well, you know what? He's a miser. Misers don't understand the language of giving. Just say, take my hand. And then, as soon as he said, take my hand, then the miser caught on to the hand. So the thing is, when we are attached to something, and that is taken away from us, then it gives us pain. A miser feels a lot of pain to even spare 25 cents. So similarly, actually, at the time of death, what happens is that everything that we have, everything that we are attached to on a material platform, it is just snatched from us at once. And we have no idea sometimes how many attachments we have. You can make a list. Many, 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 many attachments. And all that, it's kind of like yanked out of you at once. And it's extremely painful. And that's why you see many people, they're just so terrified at the time of death. Many people are terrified if they don't have some spiritual shelter in their life. They're quite terrified. Many people, pass stool and urine and stuff like that at the time of death. I've seen this when I used to work. Then there is disease. This is also, very uncomfortable, very painful. The very word dis-ease, the ease is taken away from us. It becomes dis-ease. And there is not like one pill that can, take care of all the diseases or anything like that. Even you may have the best doctor, but, issues continue to persist. One goes and another comes back. Once a doctor went to the patient and he said, well, you know what, your check bounced back. And the patient said, well, the disease that you cured also bounced back. So one person was saying, the definition of a doctor is that the doctor is a person who cures your ills with his pills and then kills you with his bills. So anyway, so you can see that disease is something nobody can escape. Old age also, it's very miserable. There's so much insecurity, especially in this country, so much insecurity with old age. They have arthritis and they have memory loss and, their reflexes become slow and they're just like uncontrollable kind of things they have to go through. Sometimes they can't even just cut their own nails because arthritis is so severe. Once there were 3 old men talking. One was a 70-year-old man, and he said, well, I can't even pass water anymore. It's just so difficult. I have to take these pills every day, and they have to give me diuretics, I have to go on dialysis, and, then I may do it. Another person says, I'm 80 years old, and I can't, empty my bowels every day. It's such a problem. And then there's a 90-year-old man, he says, well, I pass water every day at 7 a.m. and then I empty my bowels at 8 a.m. and then at 9 a.m. I get out of the bed. So you can see that, it's really, it's so much difficulty with old age. And then there's birth. So of all the things, maybe this is something difficult for us to understand. How is this a problem? Because we all say, happy birthday to you, right? But this is a problem. Why? Because when the baby is within the womb, it's in this very constricted space. He can't move. Can any of you imagine taking that position of a baby and staying like that for 9 months? It's not fun at all. And the baby is a living entity. The baby has feelings. The baby, and it can feel these things. It's very constricted. It's very painful. In the Bhagavatam, actually there's prayers of the baby described. If the baby is actually pious, the baby prays, piteously prays, please help me get out of this suffering. I promise that I'll come out and worship you. Please help. And, whatever the mother eats, that affects the baby. The mother sometimes, jumps or does things, and the baby has to go through all these things. And even when the baby comes out, do you ever see the baby coming out like that? It's always crying because the whole process of coming out, very painful, such a narrow opening, very, very painful. And in fact, when the baby comes out and it doesn't cry, the doctors make the baby cry, right? That they're worried that why the baby is not crying. Maybe there's something wrong because it is supposed to cry after going through this very traumatic experience. Sometimes they slap the baby a little bit or, put a catheter in the nose or something like that. So the Bhagavad Gita also describes these 4 things as the main dukkhas or distresses or problems or suffering. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, and Vyadi. Janma is birth, Mrityu is death, jara is death, and vyadi is diseases. Dukkha doshana darshana. So the real problems of life, those are four. There's also the three others, which are unavoidable in one sense. The disease, sufferings caused due to one's own body and mind, other living entities, and natural disturbances. These are also something we cannot avoid, right? There's so many varieties of body and mind suffering, and there's miseries caused by nature. I have so much misery because of Chicago weather. I just have such huge breathing issues. Just last night, the weather changed. Couldn't sleep all night. My whole passage was blocked. I woke up with a horrible migraine, and it's just so troublesome. I can't control the weather, right? And then there's misery caused by others. Sometimes everything is going on fine, and someone comes along, and even if everything is fine, there's at least a mosquito to bite you or something to cause you some misery. And yet, we can dictate our response also. But these are problems, as all of you said. So, my next question is, what is the solution to these problems? Is material advancement the solution to these real problems of life? No. No. So we have made a lot of material advancement. We have amazing buildings. We've also gone to the moon or Mars, and we bought some rocks back so that we can show our children. These are some rocks from the moon, right? We have all kinds of gadgets. Everything is at the touch of a button. Even a washing machine has a Wi-Fi nowadays, right? Right? You can operate it remotely. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I think even the washing machine, I don't know what else has Wi-Fi nowadays, but everything has Wi-Fi. The convenience, everything at the touch of a button. All kinds of communication, technology, and all kinds of social media to stay connected. So we have everything. But are these solving the real problems of life? Which problems are these solving? Please tell me, what kind of problems are this material advancement solving? Are they solving anything? They are getting more problems. So oftentimes, the materialistic kind of solutions to the problems, they may give us some temporary solution, but they don't give us a solution to these real problems at all. And oftentimes, as you said, the solutions become bigger problems than the original problems. There's complexity in the problem that increases even more. Just like, an average child nowadays, he watches so much TV. I was just hearing, we had like a conscious parenting seminar. I don't know if any of you were here. But Radhika Raman Prabhu was speaking today that an average American's house, the TV runs for something like 6 hours, 47 minutes. This is statistics. And the children, they watch TV for something like 4 hours a day. And by the time the child has finished elementary school, they have witnessed something like 8,000 murders. Is that fun? 8,000 murders. And they've seen about 20,000 commercials. So can you imagine what is the impact it's having on them? They're picking up all this, right? And we have all this, media to connect our communication, but just look, who's communicating with whom here? We become most impersonal. We don't have relationships anymore. Even husband-wife goes to the restaurant, and they're busy with their phones. And the children, they just have the computers to say, good morning, Johnny, Or we have, fancy roadways and everything. But how much pollution? In Mumbai, that's where I'm from, it is said that just by living there through the day, it is equal to smoking 10 cigarettes per day. Even if you're not touching a cigarette, just the pollution, the damage that it causes is equal to 10 cigarettes per day. And we have the most, fancy airports and everything, and fancy roadways to reach these airports. But again, there's problems. Just the other day, I was coming back from Washington, D.C. I was in the airport for 12 hours. I was supposed to reach Chicago at 9 o'clock, and I reached in the night at 9 o'clock, not morning 9 o'clock, just because stuck with weather problems in Chicago. There's problems. There's these solutions, but there's problems. So, modern technological advancement gives temporary relief, no permanent solution, and modern solutions often, give rise to other problems. And we can go on and on and on describing the complexity of problems that arises. Everything at the touch of a button. We don't do anything, right? And then we go to the gym, pay to the gym, and work out, right? But in the good old days, when we did some work, we didn't need to go to the gym. All our muscles were exercised very naturally. So now we have so much heart disease, and we have Apple Watches and Fitbit watches to just keep us fit. Get up, from the chair. It's time to stand. Please breathe, it'll tell you. So, real advancement in life must actually stop the real problems of life. Would you all agree? This is the proof of advancement, not that we create more problems in our life, that it actually stops the real problems in our life. So just hang on. We're going to leave the questions for the end. I'm almost finishing. Give me another 5 minutes. Almost going to be done here. So now I want to just present an interesting paradox. Perhaps some of you have read this. It's actually written by a 12-year-old girl about the paradox of our life. It makes us think. The paradox of our time and history is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers, wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy it less. We have bigger houses and smaller families. More conveniences but less time to enjoy these conveniences. We have more degrees but lesser sense. Isn't it true sometimes? Just like one devotee asked, how do we get common sense, because they don't teach you that at school. We have more knowledge, but less judgment. More experts, but less solutions. More medicine, but less wellness. We have multiplied our possessions, but reduced our values. We talk too much, love too seldom, and hate too often. We've learned how to make a living, but not a life. We've added years to life, not life to years. We've been all the way to the moon and back, but have trouble crossing the street to meet the new neighbor. We've conquered outer space, but not inner space. We've cleaned up the air, but polluted the soul. We've split the atom, but not our prejudice. We have higher incomes, but lower morals. We've become long on quantity, but short of quality. It just goes on and on. Almost done is the last one. These are the times of tall men and short character, steep profits and shallow relationships. These are the times of world peace, but domestic warfare. More leisure, but less fun. More kinds of food, but less nutrition, right? Such a fact. You could eat one bowl of spinach before and get whatever iron you needed for the entire day. Now you eat a bag of spinach, you won't get that same quantity of iron from that food. So you have to take multivitamins every day. These are days of 2 incomes, but more divorce. Of fancier houses, but broken homes. It is a time when there is much in the show window and nothing in the stockroom. Life, it makes you think. So everything has become so superficial now, and the substance is so much lacking in every area of our life. So really, where did we go wrong? Really? We're hoping to cure these problems, but where did we go wrong? There was a poor village person once, and he got some lottery tickets, and he won the lottery. And so there was this 4 of them, good friends, and they decide we want to enjoy this lottery. They got a free ticket to New York and free, what do you say? Not a ticket, but they could stay in this very fancy hotel. And so they all decide to go to New York. They take this free flight, they go to New York, and they have a bunch of money, and they want to enjoy. And so there's 4 of them, but they want to make the most of this, right? So they all 4 discuss, and they decide we're going to go in different directions, and we'll meet at the end of the day in the lobby of this hotel, and then we'll go up to our room, and then we'll share our enjoyment with each other, right? So they all go, they come back in the evening, they have all had a lot of fun, everybody goes to a different place, and they come back and meet, and their room is on the 100th floor, and lo and behold, there's no electricity. So they wait, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait. They wait, and the electricity doesn't come. So then they decide, okay, let's just walk up, and it's a good exercise anyway. So they start walking up, and so then they ask each other, okay, you share, what did you do all day? So the first person shares how he went to this garden and that garden, and how beautiful everything was, and the next person shares something else, and the third person shares something else, and they go on and on and on. But what a good time they had. And then the 4th person is really quiet, and they ask, well, you haven't said a word all this time. Why you're so quiet? And the 4th person says, well, my story is the most miserable of all of you. It's the worst story. And they say, no, don't worry, just say what it is. And he says, well, I forgot the key to the room on the ground in the lobby. And, well, it's a joke. But it's not a joke in one sense. This is what has happened to us. That somewhere we've forgotten the key to happiness while we've made all these advancements and we made all these efforts to find this happiness. We forgot the key somewhere because we're not addressing the root cause at all. And I just want to now want you to imagine, suppose you were in this big, lavish bungalow, and there's every facility you want there. Plush furniture, and there's like 100 varieties of food, and just everything is there. But then just as you start eating your favorite whatever food that is there, from one corner comes out a cobra, and another corner comes out a panther, another corner comes out a crocodile, right? And another corner comes out, let's say, a lion or something. Would you be able to eat? Would you be able to enjoy? What would you do? Run! You wouldn't want to be there in that place where there's these huge problems even for a moment. You would want to run. And my dear friends, that is also the case with this material world. This material world is like a bungalow where problems are surrounding everywhere. And this is what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He calls this material world as Dukhalaya. What is an alaya? Alaya, those of you who understand a little bit of Hindi or Sanskrit, alaya means, a particular place, where you do something. Just like there is a place where you eat is called Bhojanalaya. So Bhojan is eating, it's a place where you eat. Or the place where you study, it's called Vidyalaya or Patalaya, or whatever. Huh? Meghalaya, where there's lots of clouds. Granthalaya, where there is books, It's called a granthalaya, or a library. And Krishna is calling this material world as dukhalaya. Dukha means suffering or misery. And Krishna is labeling this material world as dukhalaya. So what is the real solution? So just like the example of the bungalow, if you're surrounded by problems all around, what do? You run from that place. You have to find a way to transcend these problems. And that is actually the solution. That the first lesson is to learn that the material world is not a place for finding happiness. No matter what you do, there will be problems one way or the other. And if you want to find happiness while you're in the material world, you have to minimally transcend in your consciousness, because the experience of suffering ultimately happens at the seat of our consciousness. And if you can elevate your consciousness, then you will not experience the problems. You won't experience suffering. The problems may be there, but the experience of suffering will not be there. Right? And so Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 8th chapter, Mamapetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gati. So he says, after attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. And it is possible to even be in this material world and reach this level of perfection, where we are still situated maybe in this body, but yet our mind, intelligence, everything is completely spiritualized through the process of bhakti. And this is the way, this is the real solution for these problems. So now after hearing this, we may of course naturally question, okay, Krishna is saying this, and Krishna is the creator of the world. Why did he create such a miserable place? Is he just some like sadist or something? He's just a cruel person? Does he not love us? You know, why did he put us in this place of suffering? Is he just whimsical? What is he wanting? Is he cruel? What is it? So this is something we're going to learn in the next session, next Saturday, so stay tuned. We will learn, does God exist, and what are the qualities of God? How do we understand all this that is happening, right? And we will learn also how to then, we won't cover everything next week, but in coming weeks we will cover why are there these problems, how do we put ourselves in this place of suffering, is Krishna doing it or we are doing it, and how does it all happen, right? So just a very quick 2-minute recap. So we discussed today the difference between a human being and an animal. There's some common things: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But the difference of a human being is that he has higher intelligence, he has the power of discrimination, and he can inquire. And what should these inquiries be into? It should not just be limited to eating, mating, sleeping, defending, how we can do it in better and better ways, but rather into the cause of suffering. How can we obtain real happiness, and what is the true destination of life, or what's the ultimate source? And we discussed what are the real problems of life: birth, old age, disease, death, and then there's also miseries caused by one's own body and mind, other living entities, and natural disturbances, and that material advancement is not the real solution. It can give some temporary relief, but not a permanent solution, and oftentimes it gives rise to more problems. And the goal of human life really is to make a permanent solution to these real problems, a permanent relief from the misery, and actually enter into a positive state of bliss, peace, and happiness. We don't want to just say, oh, no problem. That's not the level of happiness we want to attain. We want to attain a positive state of happiness. That's the goal of human life. And therefore, we should inquire again about the root cause of all causes and the source of everything. So we finished exactly an hour and a half. We started 5 minutes late. I ended 5 minutes late. But we can take maybe questions until 7:45. And if there's more questions, we can answer them over dinner. Any questions? You had a question, yes. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very good question. Valid question. Because all of us are in this world. So do we just abandon everything, go to the forest and live like primitive people? No, that's not the solution. Because even if you live as a primitive person, we're still going to have these real problems of life. So the material advancement in and of itself is not like a problem, provided it is used for the right purposes. For example, we have this microphone. We're making use of it. This is because of advancement. But we could be doing any number of things with this microphone. Yeah, we could be playing all kinds of nonsensical whatever stuff. You know, we could be just blasting some kind of music. We could use it in different ways. Or we can use it to solve the real problems of life, like we're using it right now. Or we have the iPhone, or, you know, all these things. So they can be used in a proper way, and then it's all right. But oftentimes, we're not using it in that proper way, and we're using them only for the purpose of, again, how to do eating, mating, sleeping, defending in better and better ways. If we were to list all the activities that we're doing, it would very much fall under these 4 categories. You know, there may be subcategories, but they would fall under these 4 categories. Ultimately, why are we working so hard, or whatever? Okay, to eat, to enjoy, and, you know, like that. So advancement in and of itself is not the bad thing, but how it is being used for what purpose. That's satisfying? Yeah. So we're not against it, but we want to correct the spirit of it. Sorry? Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, iPhones are great. We can hear lectures anywhere we are. It's great. We can read books anywhere we are. We don't need to waste time anywhere. We can have Bhagavad Gita on our cell phone. We could be standing at a grocery line, long line, and just read a few verses. You know, it's a great gadget like that. Use it for the right purpose. Any other questions or comments? Yeah. So actually you walked in a little late. So we had discussed at one point, you know, what is a real problem, therefore. We took time to define what is a real problem. So what you're saying somewhat falls in that relative category. Because even if people are somewhat content with what they have, you know, even on a materialistic platform, some people are just content. They're not just, you know, they don't have a lot of greed like that. They're happy, they're grateful people. And from that we can understand that they're very much influenced by the mode of goodness. And when somebody is influenced by the mode of goodness, a natural result of that is that they become happy. Whereas the mode of passion always keeps you in anxiety, the mode of ignorance makes you depressed and lament and so on. So depending on which mode we are in, we could be acting under one of those modes. So that's one part of the answer. But the other is just that it's relative. In the sense, it's not the real problem, because even such people who are so-called content and happy, even they have to go to these real problems of life, which is birth, death, old age, disease. Nobody is free from that. Even the most contented person will have some disease. And let's say they're fairly healthy all through. It's possible. They just have a good life because they've done a lot of pious activities. If they have a lot of good karma, they have a pretty good life. But even then, at the time of death, everything is taken away. And that is still a problem. And then they have to come back and take a birth. Unless one is fixed on absolute truth, or they've deeply inquired into the absolute truth. So we covered some of those points earlier. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Sure. Some people are able to find a balance of the equation. Yes. Some people spend time, but it is because then some people will take only one. Some people will be more. How do you get that mindset, or that's where and that's exactly what I was trying to say. Obviously, I didn't do a very good job in conveying that, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say. That somebody who has a lot of pious karma, they have some good qualities. They have tolerance, they have patience, so because of that, one of the features of being in goodness or having a lot of good karma is that you see clarity. You see things, there's knowledge also which arises from it. So when there's knowledge, there's clarity in the way you see things. And so therefore, when there's clarity, you see what is what. You don't react necessarily to things the same way, But when somebody doesn't have that clarity of vision, or they just don't have the strength of mind, because what dictates the strength of mind? The strength of mind is very much, why is it that somebody is born with a weak mind? Why is somebody born with a strong mind? What dictates it? We're going to cover all that also in Why Do Bad Things Happen to Good People. We're going to cover the law of karma in detail in that. But there's factors which dictate it. And so the answer I want to give, that even though it does seem like in those situations some people deal with certain things better than others, yet, let me tell you that there's a threshold for everyone. And when the problem escalates, somebody may be okay with dealing with a cold. They never complain. Some people complain even with a simple common cold. Oh, I'm suffering. I've heard people say that. But sometimes there's some really excruciating chronic illness. Day after day after day, you're going through this. And if this strikes even the most pious person, sometimes it really gets to you. So ultimately, the way to go beyond all this is only by getting to a level beyond a material platform. You have to get onto a spiritual platform. And other than that, it's not possible. Yes, we can learn some tricks, we can learn some tools, we can strengthen some qualities, but yet the purification of the heart, the strength of the mind, all that can only fully come from having deep spiritual values in our life, or making that spiritual advancement. that, yeah. Last question, we are at 7:45, maybe we should stop. Yeah, because we did. Yeah. Okay. On a material platform, yes. On a material platform, how much stuff we have, what facilities we have, what intelligence we have. Again, we're going to talk about this in the Law of Karma session, which is very briefly here. So what we come with, the apparatus we come with, our body, our senses, our mind, our intelligence, what facilities we get at any point of time, what events happen in our life. Yes, everything is dictated based on karma. But this karma can be transcended. That's the good news. Bhakti can dissolve karma. And also one thing, I'm saying a lot of things that we're going to cover later, but good karma doesn't cancel bad karma. That's one thing to keep in mind. It's not like I did a bad act and then I'm going to do a good act and compensate for that. You have to enjoy for your good karma and suffer for your bad karma. There is only devotional service or bhakti actually dissolves karma. Yeah. So we'll get into it more later. Yeah, lots of questions. And really, this first session is meant to unsettle you a little bit so that you'll come back for the future sessions. Perhaps, question mark, question mark, question mark, exactly. Because these topics are huge, and that's why we're trying to just cover one, topic each week. Well, don't worry, we will address. We could address, we can do all 6 sessions, but that would be an all-day seminar, and I don't think you would be able to absorb it. Take some of these points that you heard today and reflect on them further, through the week. And, come up with your questions too, write them down, and see if they get answered as we go along. And if not, we will answer them in course of time, because we can't get the entire knowledge in 1.5 hours. It's huge, right? And everything is connected with each other. But, yeah. Thank you. So thank you all very, very much. We'll go take prasadam now. If somebody has some other further questions, I'm happy to answer.